In today's video, we're going to see if that head gasket liquid stuff actually works. I want to give you guys some backstory before I start to do it, because I know people are going to be concerned as to why I'm going with that option versus the legitimate option of tearing the motor apart and replacing the head gasket the correct. For those of you who don't know, this is my first truck that I ever bought back when I was a teenager. I ended up selling it, and then it was gone for a couple of years, and I ended up buying it back. Now, sadly, I found out that it has a blown head gasket. The reason I know this is because it was blowing quite a bit of smoke out the exhaust, and it was white smoke, and it smelled like coolant. And I know what a head gasket failure looks like and smells like. So it's got a blown head gasket. Now, it doesn't seem too severe because it wasn't blowing an extreme amount of smoke, and it wasn't overheating. Now, this truck originally is supposed to come with a 2.4 liter. Now, someone in the past before me had swapped in a 2.0 liter, 2.0, which is a smaller motor. I'm not sure why they did that. Maybe they found this cheap, or they got it used and just threw it in for the meantime, or whatever the case may be. But I would like to put the factory engine that's supposed to be in here, and I also want to do a bunch of custom work. So in my eyes, I'm going to pull this motor out regardless. So that's why I don't want to put too much money into this motor. But I also want to see if I can fix it for about 30 bucks, since the head gasket itself is 30 bucks, give or take. But you also have to change a bunch of things, and not only that, but it's very time consuming to take the engine apart and put it all back together, especially if I don't plan on running this motor forever. This is why I am choosing to try that liquid head gasket sealer stuff to see if I can potentially work. And if it does, then great, it'll work for the meantime, just until I can find a new motor. It's possible I could drive it around town, just because I do miss driving this truck. I figured it's just the easiest option. Just pour it in and see if it works. If it works, then good. If it doesn't, so be it. It's 30 bucks, and we'll try the head gasket, or we'll try something else. Now that you guys know the backstory, let's go to the store real quick and get some of that head gasket sealer. I don't know what brand I'm going to use or which kind. I'm going to go see what they have, and let's go. And just like that, we are back. Let's give this a shot. So from what the instructions say, it just says to pour it into your cold motor. If you have a 4-cylinder, in this case, like I do, a small motor, it says to take half of this can and to put it directly into your radiator. Then let it run for about 15 minutes with the heater core on all the way hot and the fan on the highest setting. And then turn it off, top it off with coolant, and then just do that a couple times, and it should fix it. It says it's that simple. It says it on the instructions in case anyone wants to read it for themselves. But I'm just kind of going off of the instructions. I've never used this. I don't know anyone that has used this, so I don't know if this works, but I'm assuming that there's a reason why they sell this type of stuff. And like I keep saying, if it doesn't work, then I will replace the head gasket, or I will just pull this motor out and start to do all the custom work. This is just because I want to try the easiest thing, and in my opinion, this was, I think, $33 exactly. So $33 and no work at all besides pouring that in. If it works, that's honestly super good and super easy. Just make sure that you shake it well. Now that we poured it in, we put our cap back on, and we're going to go and start this and let it run for 15 minutes. Obviously, you want to make sure that it doesn't overheat. If it does, turn it off. Hopefully it doesn't overheat and it actually runs. You also want to come over here, turn your heat on all the way, turn your fan on all the way. Guys, I think this might actually work. I'm not entirely sure yet, but that smoke you see is not coolant being burned, and I know that for a fact that there's coolant in the system. So I think it might just work. The motor is definitely not healthy, I'll tell you that right now. The carburetor is running extremely rich, it's not tuned, it's super old, so that smoke that you see is not coolant or water or anything like that. You can smell it, it's oil and it's fuel, but I'm not concerned with that smoke. I was concerned with the white clouds of smoke that it was blowing, and right now it's not blowing white clouds of smoke, so I think it's sealing it up. Right now it's been running for just about 15 minutes. It hasn't overheated on me. So it's been running for about 15 minutes now. I'm gonna shut it off, and I'm gonna let it cool down completely, and I'll come back in a couple of hours. Now I'm gonna let the truck cool down a couple more times, and then all the way till it's fully ready to go. Once it cools down all the way, I'll drive it again to operating temperature. I don't see it blowing any coolant smoke. I do see it burning oil and I smell the oil, but I don't smell any coolant. And I know for a fact that there is coolant in the system because I checked and there is coolant. So if it was burning, there would be clouds of white smoke and it would smell sweet. All right, well, I've been driving the truck around my house. I let it warm up to operating temperature. Once it's all good, I go around the block and I come and turn it off. I've done that a couple times, so it should be all fixed. And personally, I think it is fixed. I don't see any more white smoke. I'm going to be running some diesel oil. So this is Rotella T5. They do make a T6 and they do make a bunch of other kinds, but this one right here is a 1540, which is pretty damn thick. Now, this is sadly 3.7 liters, so it's not a full 5 quarts. It's like 4 quarts, I think, or maybe even a little less. 4 quarts, it's a gallon. So this is not going to be quite enough for the motor. For those who are going to say, why are you running diesel oil in a gas engine? You're going to blow it up. That's not how it works. Technically, this is designed for diesels. It has a lot of detergents and cleaning agents, stuff like that, to clean the diesel engines internally because they're very dirty engines. So technically, once we run this in a gas motor, it's going to clean it and leave it super spotless inside. Not like a brand new motor, but it is going to clean it a lot because the diesel oils have a lot of detergents in them versus the gas engine oils that you use typically don't have as much or as strong chemicals. Top of all that, I'm going to give this a shot. Now, I've never used this. I don't know what to expect, but apparently this seals the rings. So it should technically bump up the compression a little. And yeah, I don't really know what to expect. This was, I think, $6, and if it, helps it from burning oil and smoking up my whole street when I try to drive this thing, I'll be happy. Like I said, this is just simply to see how long we could stretch this motor out. Now, if your motor was okay-ish, I would not be running stuff like this. But since this motor is extremely bad and it probably burns, I'm not even kidding, probably a quart of oil within the span of like 50 to 100 miles, I'm going to run this. So this motor, in my opinion, it's done. But once I keep saying I want to try to stretch it out as far as I can, that way it gives me a little bit more time to swap in and build my new motor and then swap the new motor in. So I'm just trying to keep this thing alive as much as I can. Oh, that's not good. That's water. That's straight freaking water. At least on the bright side, there's not a lot of metal shavings, so that's always a good sign. All right, now it's time to put the ring seal. Hopefully this bumps up the compression a little and stops it from burning oil like it says it does. Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna seal the motor. I don't know if this is healthy for a regular motor. Look at that. Like honey. What the heck? Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna seal this motor up. Alrighty guys, well, as you can see, it's already dark, so it's hard to tell if there's smoke blowing out now. Obviously, it's still going to burn oil. The rings are probably shot. I wouldn't be surprised if I tear this motor apart and the rings are pretty much non-existent, just judging by the amount of smoke that comes out of this thing. But tomorrow, once I get out of work, it should be daytime, so then we'll have some light to play around with, and then we'll go drive it around and see if all the stuff I've been doing has been improving it or not. I went and I drove it. I think I drove it for about 15 to 20 minutes, and I saw very little smoke. Now, obviously, it always blew smoke. Sorry, my hands are dirty. I was working, but it always blew smoke. Obviously, we know that the motor is tired. That's already a fact. We know that. We're not trying to fix it, fully fix it. But it does definitely burn a lot less oil, and it does smoke less than what it did prior to adding all the stuff I did. So it definitely helps. Not only that, but we had to put new oil in there just because the old oil had water all over it. I honestly think that the head gasket is fixed because I don't see any more white smoke. I don't smell it. I keep saying this, and the temperature is not getting, it's not overheating on me. So I honestly would like to call this a win. So shout out to whatever company this is. Right here, this is the product that I use. Now, I used half of the can, and honestly, I think it fixed the truck. So I would recommend it personally if you want to do a quick fix. Now, obviously, this is probably not a good long-term fix. So I want to see also how long this is going to last, because I know it's going to give out eventually. Now I'll probably be able to take this to local meets, which is what I was after. Is I just want to be able to drive this to local meets and have fun. Obviously, I'm not going to drive this thing far. I'm not going to go cruise 2 hours away or whatever. But I think for local meets, this thing is more than ready for it. It just needs a wash, which I'm about to do. A wash won't do much since the clear coat is already gone, but I do want to polish up my wheels, and I do want to lower it some more. So I'll probably end up doing that sometime this weekend. So I might film that, I might not, I still don't know. But I'm going to be slamming this thing on the ground like I had it back when I was in high school, and I'm going to be polishing my wheels. As far as paint, I'm going to leave it like this for now. Leave it the rough patina, leave my old graphics on there that are flaking off. But like I keep saying, this truck is going to get a frame off rebuild. So this thing, once it's all said and done, it's going to be super dope. But as of now, I would just want to stretch it as far as I can. That way I can focus on building this one over here, because this right now needs more love than this one does. This one came out of the blue, came after everything. So I need to focus on these trucks before I do anything to this one. So this is definitely a good product. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys found it useful, and I guess I would really recommend using this. So this stuff really does work, and it does do the trick, in my opinion, and in my case it definitely worked. Now, if you have a head gasket that is really bad, it might not seal it up. It might clog your radiator, it might clog your heater core. But in my case, I don't use a heater core. Radiator doesn't seem clogged, and the head gasket seems clogged, so it was all good, and we're ready to go cruise.